no phone calls right now. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, let me turn that off.
I thought I did, but I don't know. I guess it still came through.
I gotta put mine on airplane mode.
At this point, I'm live, so I'm just gonna let it be. So hopefully it all works out.
We're on Facebook Live.
We're on Facebook, yes. And then we are also live on Instagram, and I'm gonna do one share. But yeah, so I love what Miriam asked, and I would definitely love to, we can start off with talking about that. I know you joined a little bit after, so did you get the gist of what she was asking,
No.
Samar?
No.
Okay. So you know how we had the daily tip yesterday around venting, right? And so, and we all know venting is awesome, and there's always a balance to it too. So she was asking because we're all dealing with the same thing right now. We're all dealing with all kinds of emotions. We're all dealing with, various things. And we typically lean on those closest to us to either vent or complain, right? And so she was asking, correct me if I'm saying it incorrectly, but she was asking, where's the balance in that? So how can we balance when somebody is either venting to us or just saying, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I can't handle anymore, because at that point it's starting to cause us to drain and it's starting to become toxic for us without hurting them. So I thought that was a brilliant question, because there is a balance to that, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think identifying sometimes when something is really bothersome to us, that I just need to vent about this right now, is really important, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, let's say that something comes up with my sister and I, right? And I just need to vent about it, right? This isn't complaining. I just need to talk about it to get it out, so that I don't hold on to it. I don't brew it. I don't make it into a bigger deal, whatever it is. Venting helps with all of that. So to just say that, you know what, I just need to vent. Okay. That's one way, right?
Yep.
And the second thing is, I think was the second part of the question, where does that cross over to complaining or draining?
I think that's part of it. And I do also hear in what she shared, where's the boundary? Where do you set the boundary, and where do you just say, okay, because there's a fine line of being able to hold space for someone versus, taking it on so much that it starts to affect your own energy.
Right.
So and I'm pretty sure that's what she's referring to.
Do is, if we're conscious of it, we can say, so let's say if it's gone on for like half an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it for half an hour. The more we go on and on, we're just repeating ourselves.
Yeah. And that's when it becomes a complaint. Yes. That's what I see as more of a complaint, when it's like the same story is being said over and over, whereas to me, I still see venting as, okay, something triggered me, something happened, and I just need to get it out and release it. And, Miriam, it really is, you got to also always look at, yourself first, because without you being that full, high energy, it's gonna, and being that dominant energy, love or, joy, gratitude, whatever that may be, it can start to impact you. So you can easily share that, with your loved ones, and from a loving space, you can start to say, look, I love you so much, and I'm starting to notice that this is just a little too much for me to be able to handle, and there's not much I can do for you. And you can suggest, you can share the daily tip video for the venting, for instance. Or you can even suggest to them, hey, why don't you take on journaling? Maybe you can journal this out, and these are like recommendations you can actually make to them. Because as far as I know, I don't think you're a therapist or coach or counselor or anything. I don't know. She's your friend, right? So I don't know.
Right. So see, the thing is that we just have to kind of remember that when somebody is in need of venting, right? Complaining kind of goes on and on and on, right?
Mhm.
Venting is short term. Venting is giving yourself the space for a short period of time to get whatever it is out, right? So when it starts to go on for and venting doesn't take 2 hours. Venting takes 15-20 minutes, half an hour at max, right? Where you basically talk about it, you share your feelings, and then you kind of share how you experienced it, right? Like, this happened, this is how I feel, this was what I took away from it. And then it's like, poof, and it's fast talking. It's not, people are not very eloquent in setting their thought process because they haven't thought about it, right? They're just venting it out. It's almost like that free format journaling, like pen to paper, whatever that comes, let it roll, right? So it's a form of a release. And I think that one of the things that we can do for people who come to us to vent, our loved ones, our colleagues, whoever they may be, is that we can say, venting is awesome because that's the release. And I'm so happy that you think of me as trustworthy enough to vent to me. I mean, this is great.
Totally.
So the next part of it is kind of just like moving forward, right?
Yeah.
You don't even have to say, now you're complaining,
No, not at all. And sharing though, if it starts to impact you, I don't see anything, I'm all about authenticity and just saying things that are there, because to me it's, it serves me when people vent to me, because I'm like, oh, I know that I'm holding space for them to get it out. Now there's times where literally I've had to be like, okay, I can't, like, that's like, at this point it's starting to impact my energy, and it's just a matter, and in a nice way, and I'm not saying like, oh my God, stop talking, like, not like that by any means, but being really authentic, like, you know what, I love you, and I just, at this point, I'm starting to make an impact on me too, and so that to me is, I think, one of the things that I would have people just share authentically from a loving space.
And I think if we really pay attention, if we're starting to be bothered by it, they're escalating. So the fact that we can find that courage to come out and say, okay, that's enough, is actually helpful to the person who's venting as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. So hope that, did that answer your balance question, Miriam?
Yes, definitely. And I think, this whole thing is just probably making me, or I'm not sure if anyone else, kind of more sensitive. But I thought maybe we are going through a process that we are being more conscious of who we are dealing with on a daily basis. So I'm not sure if I said it correctly. So I'm just, now that I'm reevaluating all of my friends and people that I hang out with on, I guess it's a good thing, because you get used to people, you're in comfort zone, and you hang out. But at some point when crisis happens, you start like thinking that, oh, maybe this person has been doing this to me, but now I just realized that how much she went, and it's not healthy to me. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
But
I love the awareness though, right?
Yes, the awareness. Yeah, exactly. And your daily tip actually was very helpful in regards to, start thinking about, who am I talking to on a daily basis, and how much of venting that I get, and how much I vent. So that was helpful. But thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd love to add something to that. I think you have something too, but I actually wanted to talk about, you brought something up that it's just like a perfect segue. I wanted to talk about opinions and judgments on this section, because what I'm noticing a lot right now is, oh my gosh, opinions and judgments are just everywhere. Everybody's got a point of view. There's all these conspiracy theories out there. Because people are trying to figure it out. We do that. Human nature, you figure things out, right? And so what I've just been sharing with people, friends, clients, and everything, anytime there's any kind of judgment present, and this is what I live by, anytime there's judgment of any kind present, love is missing. So I really believe when you go and seek love and come from that space of love, that judgment goes out the door, and you can be more with people's, like allowing people to have whatever opinions and judgments and point of views that they have, because hey, everybody's got their own truth.
This is you just took it to a different level.
I wanted to go a little deeper on that one.
Well, you did. So our truth is our perception, right? How we perceive our experiences, right? How we based on previous experiences, right? And I think Mariam brought up something that's actually pretty valuable. And it's like, now we have the time, and because we're not so busy with being busy, if that makes sense, like finding ourselves in a busy space so we don't have to deal with real issues.
And the autopilot.
Yeah, we start to really evaluate people who are around us, because we're not consumed by them anymore, right? We're not consumed. So we go into kind of a detailed way of looking at relationships. This is human nature. It's like, that's why we say take one step out of the situation and look at it from a different angle. This is what's actually happened. This is what has actually happened to us. We've been forced to remove ourselves. And then because we're now removed, we can look at relationships from a different angle, right? Yep. So your truth is exactly your own perception of whatever scenario that you're in, right? And that's what you just said, everybody has their own truth, right? So the reality is what happened factually. The truth is my explanation of it, my story of it, because it's mine, right? Yeah. The reality is that we are having a live session right now at 3:17 p.m. Eastern time, right? This is the reality, right? And it's a present moment. It's a partnership between you and I. Now, how I feel about it after I move away from this is over, and then I talk about it, then that's my truth. Okay. So judgment, and then you talked about judgment, and there's a lot of judgments and conspiracy theories, and again, judgment comes from our knowing. Yeah. What is good and bad to me isn't necessarily good or bad to somebody else, right? And this is where we start to get into emotional conflict with people that we love. Yeah. Because we're like, oh, don't do it that way. That's not the right way. Well, why not? Because, well, I didn't grow up doing it that way. Well, who cares how you grew up, right? Like, what's the point? What's right or wrong is, again, based on our experiences and perceptions.
And so that's why I actually, through coaching and everything, I've been taught there's no such thing as right and wrong, and there's no such thing as good and bad, because every single person has their way that's right for them. They have what's good for them, what's bad for them, right? So there's really no right, wrong, good, bad. And, opinions to me fall in that same category. People are going to have opinions, based on a knowing, based on the evidence they collect. All that stuff is just, and of course, we're very emotionally tied to our opinions, right?
Very emotionally tied to our opinions.
And so Mariam, I've noticed, what was that?
Because they define who we are.
Yeah, and it's like the way we've, become who we are, and exactly. And, and I've noticed similarities with, groups of friends and whatnot. And it's like, You know, like right now, it's interesting, the people that I share certain opinions with around this whole situation. I don't share it. That's my opinion. I don't share it because I know sharing is going to create a whole crazy mess on social media. And so therefore, I just be with it, and then I be with other people's opinions. And it's, you know, that's just how it is. Everybody's got their opinion about how it should go. And my guess is, you know, some of that is what's coming up in a lot of these conversations that are causing others to just get into these debates of some kind, possibly draining one another. So yeah, it's great awareness, honestly. Awesome job, Miriam.
So what did you, aside from this, what did you want to talk about today? Did you have something that
you know, so I had posted, you know, I shared that story. And so I've actually gotten a few different questions from people. So I thought I'd bring those up.
Yep.
I think you saw probably some of them from the story. Yeah. So Jordan, I can't remember the full, and I don't know if he's watching us on Instagram. But Jordan asked, what are some favorite workouts that we like during this time, I'm assuming. So you want to talk, we can talk about that to begin with.
So I have been stretching a lot. I've just really, throughout this time, my job is a sitting job, right? I sit for many, many hours a day. And as you can see, even on here, I fidget. And it's because I think my body has gotten very exhausted from just, you know, long hours of sitting. So I've noticed that I have, for me, I started to notice how stiff I am, because I'm not spending 7-8 hours a day on this one particular chair that my body has adjusted to and is unaware, right? So I have been stretching a lot, and I walk a lot. You know, obviously I have a big dog, so he has to have a lot of exercise. So we go on, you know, a couple of miles, at least an hour every time we go out. So that's like the majority of what I'm doing, right? And of course, you know, like some yoga poses, I mix it up, but for consistently on a daily basis, the walks and the stretching is what I do.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I actually was not much of a walker, but apparently with all this that's been going on, I've definitely been walking more, like power walking up hills and things like that, or just, you know, walking for fun, but doing longer walks. And I never really was big into that. So that is something I've actually taken on. Something that I've really gotten more into is biking and mountain biking. So as much as I loved biking, I never really fully went all the way in. And I mean, we've been doing crazy bike rides, for me at least. And it helps because, you know, when you have a husband that's all about mountain biking, kind of gets you into it more. And I've also taken on jump roping. So I actually beat my personal record today. I don't know if you saw that on my story, but
I've been counseling all day.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I've been doing a challenge where I'm like, okay, how many inches, you know, something to do. I started this, I don't know, I want to say maybe at the beginning of all this. And you know, my target has been to get to 500 with like, you know, without stopping is what my target is, like literally jumping 500 times. So today I hit 348 and I literally collapsed on the couch afterwards, but it felt so good. You know, I was like huffing and puffing so hard that my chest hurt. I was like, oh my God, my entire body was tingling. I had to stretch quite a bit afterwards because I didn't want to, I felt like cramps were about to happen in my calves. But that's been something I've been taking on. We recently got a dumbbell set. Ashkan's like huge with, you know, weights and whatnot. So as of tomorrow, my plan is to actually start to do some weight training at home. So I noticed I'm one of those that I like to go to the gym. Like I like to go to those classes like Orange Theory Fitness. I like to be registered, be with a group of people, have a coach that says, okay, do this, do that. Like for me, and I'm like really clear about that now. Like for me to just go and work out with weights, it just doesn't happen. Now somebody like Ashkan loves it. Like that's every morning. That's what he's doing. Right? So yeah, so those are some workouts. I think it's just getting creative with, like I know people are using items like their laundry detergent, for instance, as their weight, or different water bottles. Some people I saw created a barbell and dumbbells with concrete. Like, those concrete blocks that you can get from Home Depot? Like, yeah, look at that. People getting creative. It's cool.
Yeah, we were gym goers too, and then we would just work out together, which is great motivation. If you have a gym partner, basically.
Accountability,
so
right?
we're not motivated to work out on our own, but that has not been the case. So a lot of walks, a lot of pull-ups and push-ups and things of that nature.
Yeah. I do want to get more into yoga. That's something I've been saying for God knows how long, and I do it, but I'm so inconsistent. So I'm like, it is something I'm like, I will get into it. I'm like, at least once a week, at least once a week. My body could really use it. Otherwise, I have a yoga. That's what you'll see me like bouncing around because my chair is a yoga ball. For that reason, because I'm sitting just like you. I'm sitting all the time, so at least it gives me a little bit of movement. Rather than feeling completely stiff, it's made a difference for my back.
So what's another question?
So another one, Jose asked, what's the best way to start mornings? So I thought that was a great question. What's your morning ritual?
Rachel, when we were on with Dr. Rachel, she addressed this, that we have 17 seconds before our mind basically decides how it's going to live the day, right? And if you remember, and that was such a great thing because I learned that from her. I'm like, 17 seconds. I better not like reach for anything that I don't want today to like be filled by. So her tip, and I'll just share her tip, and then I'll tell you what I do. Her tip was that start your day either with gratitude, or she said she listens to this podcast that's automatic. Like it just kind of like, I think it maybe starts like an alarm clock or something for her.
Yeah, she has it like set to just click on it. And she's like got it ready to go. So all she needs to do when she is like click on it and then it starts to play. So
that's, what you want to start your day with is starting our daily routine is very unique to each of us, right? Some people like to start it with like exercise. Some people start with meditation. I think it's the flow of your own energy, right? So my energy is low. My energy is like very mellow and low. So in that state, I do not want to pump it up when I first wake up in the morning, because that doesn't work well for me. It creates anxiety for me, as if like I have to be someplace and do something that I'm late for. So what I normally do is I have quiet mornings. I don't like my mornings to be like music blasting and none of that, right? And I actually have a practice at night that I've done this for years and years. I clean my kitchen completely at night because I like to wake up to a clean kitchen, right? So when I get up in the morning and I make my coffee, I move slowly for the first 20-25 minutes, and I kind of allow myself time to, and that's that state of being that you explain and you talk about, Anuschka, to be rather than to do for about half an hour. And then, and then I and I switch into like pump it up mode, like now shower, now get dressed, now, out the door to go to work, right? And then music and all of that is in the car as I'm going to work. So that's my regular routine, and I really have not changed that at all during this time, because it's something that finally I figured out exactly how it works, right?
Yeah, and what feels good, right? And I love what you said, because each person, it is individual, and you got to look at what makes you feel good. So for you, somebody playing music at 6 a.m. or whatever time you wake up would not make you feel good.
It drives me crazy.
Right.
It's too much noise. It's too much for my state of being.
Totally. And it's like, and so each person differs. And like for Ashkan, music, first thing in the morning wakes him up, right? For me, I immediately, as soon as I wake up, before I'm like even fully awake, I go into meditation. That's my morning routine. Now, it's not perfect. It's not like in every, like, because there are times where we get distracted. Like I get a message as soon as I turn my phone off airplane mode, and then boom, like I get distracted. And so I have to constantly be mindful, be conscious, and ignore any messages or anything that come through until I meditate. And so that's like the first thing that I do in the morning. And usually, you know, it'll be anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour, and sometimes more than an hour. I don't really set a time. I allow myself to just be and let it flow however it flows. And after that is when I start to, you know, look at, okay, well, let's go ahead and get up. Sometimes I'll post something, you know, like maybe I'll get a message during meditation, and right then I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be a perfect message to post today. That's something that I'll do while I'm still in bed. You know, all this is still happening in bed. I know others, like you were saying, like Rachel, she shared about, you know, the gratitude list. That's a great way of not only waking up to it and writing like at least 3 things. I mean, you want to get up to maybe even 10 things that you're grateful for. It takes sometimes practice. That's a really great way, because gratitude is a high frequency and it raises your vibration. And when you're grateful, then more things come to you to be grateful for. And I love that, right? And I even like recommend to clients to actually list things of gratitude at nighttime as well, so you sleep with it, right? So it's like on both ends. Otherwise, like breathing exercise, some people are like, it's tough for them to meditate. Well, just, you know, do some breathing like exercises, like full,
Most
you know,
apps
like,
now have those that like the breathing circles.
Yep.
Where it shows you. So even if you're not really sure exactly how to take good deep breaths and for how long, these apps can really help you get into that.
yeah. And I saw you have your iWatch. The iWatch does that too, right? Like you've noticed, you can say, okay.
Ignore my watch when it would say breathe.
Yeah.
Like, I would just be like, oh, here we go. Like interrupting me. Now, when it says breathe, I have made it a conscious. I made a conscious decision that I take 2 deep breaths every time it tells me to breathe. Which it's really interesting how it changes a lot of things about your state of being.
Yeah, it literally will calm your body, reduces cortisol levels. It literally no anxiety, because you're focusing on your breath while you're breathing, right? That's like huge. And that's all you're doing. You're being present. And that actually is meditation. Meditation is, I think people just make it very difficult, and that's literally all it can be. Just take those deep breaths, be with the breaths.
And that's it.
Yeah. One of the things that we always say is just be careful when you first wake up and you get on social media or emails or anything like that, because depending on what you see and what your newsfeed looks like, that can totally impact the rest of your day.
It's really one of the worst things that we can do. And I used to be in this like really horrible practice that I would like open my eyes, roll over, grab my phone and look and see. And I did never realize the horrible impact it has.
Yeah.
And so, at least for me, right?
Sure.
And, until I stopped doing that, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what they're talking about. This is it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what's another question that we got?
That's really it. I think one of the things, I feel like we talked about it a few times even this week, was just the whole, and it keeps coming up. I even saw something that Dr. Joe Dispenza was sharing around visualization, and he called it mental rehearsaling or something like that, where it's like more of a scientific term around it, where you're rehearsing your mind, I guess, right? So I thought that was an interesting way of looking at it, because there literally is science behind it, where when because our cells and body don't know the difference between what we actually externally are seeing versus what we actually visualize and see. Just doesn't know the difference. It's the same. And they've done so many experiments around this, right?
Yeah, hence you create your reality.
Yeah, totally. And
it happens in the head.
And I know I've had several vision boards, And I know we've talked about vision boards, right? You've done that, right? You had an awesome story around it.
I do have an awesome story around it.
Please share.
This is quite a few years ago. Actually, it happened right after the 2008 crash of the economy. If you guys remember, I mean, you were old enough to remember
Yeah.
the point that it impacted your life, and it certainly impacted my life. So after that, I was working with a coach at the time, and she asked me to do this vision board. And I was like, vision board, okay. I mean, you know, I'd heard of it, but I never took this stuff seriously. Like, it was like, oh, it's kind of a fun thing to do. Okay, I'll do it because it's fun. And so at the time I did it, and then the homework was to just basically create it and then put it away. So I never actually cut and paste and, you know, made a collage sort of a vision board. I just drew it. I drew, you know, she's like, what do you want your home to look like? So I drew what I wanted. I thought I want my home to look like. You know, what do you want your career to look like? I drew what I wanted it to look like. What do you know, and all this stuff. And about 2.5 years later, somehow I was going through some paperwork and I found the envelope and I opened it, and I kid you not, I was sitting in my living room. Okay. And I opened it, and it was as if I was looking at my living room on that piece of paper. You know, and I'll never forget, like, on one side I drew windows, on the other side I drew these set of paintings that I have, that they're a set, they go together, you know. Wow. That they were on this one long wall, and this wall, and then I drew this like really long couch. I had this like super long couch, right? You know, and I was home alone, and it panicked me for a second. It really, I was like, I didn't know what to do with it. And then I looked over to, and I don't know if I went into any details with you, but then I looked over to, you know, what I thought my career, you know, should look like at the time. And I had drew a classroom. So I've been teaching since I was 28 years old, right? But I had never done it full time. You know, I'd always had another full-time job, and I just taught a class here or there because I thought it was fun. I thought it was prestigious, you know, well, I drew like a classroom and teaching and all of that. And I was fully I was fully teaching at the time too. And it really, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. But that was my experience. And and you know, and a few other times I've done it. It's just that one time, it was that like reality of, oh, I created all of this 2.5 years ago. Yeah. And here I am, you know, 2.5 years later, like sitting in that environment, living that drawing that, you know, that I made.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I have several experiences. I didn't even share them with you, but like, I always say I created Ashkan with a vision board. I literally, no joke. Did I tell you this once? No.
Your social media post.
Oh yeah. So but like I and that's, you know, some of like the relationship coaching that I do, that's one of the you know, things that I have people do is like, okay, well, you know, create the list, and I'm not going to go into details of it, but so that's what I did. I created a list of, you know, what my ideal partner would look like. Not look like, right? That was just like more, yeah, I used to like some, but overall, like what he would have characteristic wise, personality wise, what type of person he was going to be, and all these things. And literally, no joke. And I had that on my phone screen. And I chose an actor that I was like, oh, this guy's a good looking actor, right? And I like put all, and I do mine digitally. So I know we've talked about this. Like I haven't done one like a collage, like cut out one yet. I'd love to, because I've never done one. But I've done mine like, you know, with, you know, and I've always been in the tech world. So no wonder why I'm like, I do graphic design. So for me, it was more fun to do it that way. And then I had that, and I swear to you, like every single one of the different characteristics, he had it. And it was like within 2 months, I met him online. So
the good old traditional way of meeting our spouses online.
I know these days people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah.
That, I mean, and one of the other thing, I mean, I did it for, you know, because back in the day, The Secret, that was like the beginning of law of attraction being exposed to people more so, right? And they had a similar story as yours, where the guy's like, oh my God, several years later, I see my vision board and it's the house that I had on my vision board, you know? And so like, I remember I created vision boards back then quite a bit, and I would just change them around. Like moving to San Diego was on my vision board. You know, I literally had it where I wanted to have a view of palm trees. And that's exactly what my first condo out here was. Like I had beautiful palm trees around surrounding the condos that I lived in. And, but yeah, and then I went to this class at one point who actually, she shared on doing vision boards on Pinterest, which I thought that was interesting. I'd never heard of that, right? There's so many, I feel like, different ways of doing it. And even with my brain tumor journey, I'm sure you saw my vision like board with the to 90 and beyond. Did you see that one? It was like a beach sunset with like all these little silhouette of people just having fun. And so I just wrote on there like to 90 and beyond, just to have that as, you know, my vision after the whole prognosis BS. And that's what I do for my clients. Actually, I have them create these vision boards and, you know, just have that become their new story, their new reality, and not the prognosis that they hear.
So we should do one. We should do a virtual, like.
Oh yeah, that would be so fun. That would be fun. And have it be like a separate, you know, class or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, not like this. Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. And see who would want to come in.
Classroom for it, and have whoever wants to come, and then we can. I mean, it would be so fun.
It would be, and I want to do it.
Really fun, right?
Yeah. I think it will be awesome. And, you know, we can share the different ways and see whatever works for them. Like since I've never done the cut up kind, I actually want to do that version, you know, and
yeah, all you need literally is like a piece of paper, like even like a regular print paper, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be, people want to think that when they do things like this, it has to be so elaborate, and it's not. It's what you are willing to create and put on there based on what you think and you desire and you want at this particular moment in time in your life, right? In this reality. And if you have some magazines, if you have some crayons, do you know what I mean? Just some artsy stuff. And
you can even print things out if you have a printer at home, right? I mean,
you can definitely print things out. Or you can do it digitally too. I mean, you do it digitally.
Yeah, or digitally. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is whatever. For me, because I've never done a collage cut up one, and I was supposed to do one a few months ago, and I don't know, I think either I wasn't feeling well or I was in Mexico, whatever happened, I couldn't make it. And I was like, the first time.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. Yeah.
It's like a time and a date. A day like with it, like in a short, in the near future, we should.
Yeah, in the next couple of weeks or so. Yeah, I agree. That'd be awesome. Yeah, fun.
Yeah. Now I'm excited.
Huh?
I said, now I'm excited. This thing that we're doing is like growing in different branches.
I know, it's evolving. I love it. I love when things just evolve, you know?
I do
it's
too.
Just like on their own, it's like, that's the best way. It's like just being with it organically, and then knowing, you know, like Miriam, I really appreciate you sharing the difference it's making in your life. And, you know, and I feel like others have been sharing that either personally or, you know, through messages and whatnot. So it's just great to hear that, you know, it's definitely making a difference for people. So
it's kind of nice.
I know it's making a difference for me.
You know, I really look forward to this. I really do. So Tuesdays are my long days, Fridays are my long days, and this is the wrapping up of my day.
Perfect.
And I look forward to it because after this, I'm like done, and it ends on like a positive, fun note, and it's been such a great journey.
Totally. Yes.
All right. So do you have any
I want
comments?
to see if there's anyone that has, yeah, exactly. Any comments, any questions? I know we have people on both Instagram. I'm looking to see if there's anybody asking anything. Lots of people saying hi. My aunt in Iran is watching.
Oh, that's cool.
Hi, Fanasima. Let's see. Hello, hello, everyone else. So yeah, nobody on either. But yeah, anybody has any questions or anything else that we can support you in, please feel free to jump in. Otherwise, we will wrap it up.
Yeah.
Going once, going twice. All right, I think we're good to go. I feel like this is a great one. So
That's fun. That's
yeah.
fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll see you
Yeah.
Monday.
Thank you. Thank you. This is great.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
we'll announce that. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, figure out exactly. We'll figure out that whole class and we'll definitely post about that soon. Yay. Have a great weekend.
Be safe, everybody. Bye.
Bye.